Welcome, everyone, to the Success Elevated podcast. As always, I'm your host, Hayden Lee, and I am joined by a very special guest this week, returning guest, owner of C&R Magazine. And I like to just, because Katie and Derek kind of throw this term around a lot, editor-in-chief, however you want to call it. I don't know. It's just, Michelle's just all things C&R. Michelle Blevins, thanks again for coming back on the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me, Hayden. I'm excited to be here again. And yes, I love Katie and Derek. They are some of the first people I met in the industry. And I think we might have talked about last time they made me a t-shirt once upon a time that said, but I'm the editor on it, because I had trouble having control of my social media back in the day. And they sent me a t-shirt, gosh, in like 2015, making fun of the life I was living. And so I love it. They are great friends in the industry. And I've gotten to know you as well, which is a pleasure. So I'm excited to be here.
Oh, this is great. This podcast is very special for a lot of reasons, but the big thing that we kind of wanted to dive into today is a little outside of, I don't want to say outside of, because I think it applies to all business owners, yep. But it's a little bit different vein than our industry, right? The majority of what we do and what we talk about is the cleaning and restoration, home service-based industries. But today we're talking a little bit about education. And the thing that kind of spurred this conversation, Katie, I was sitting down with Katie a couple of weeks ago, and we were kind of going through our upcoming marketing game plan and you know, stuff we were going to do for the podcast. And she kind of mentioned it. She was like, oh yeah, you know, I was just talking to Michelle the other day. She's going back to get her master's degree. And I was like, whoa, that sounds like a really, really cool thing that I want to pick Michelle's brain about a little bit, because you as a business owner, you own a very successful business that is in an awesome and upcoming industry that's growing, and your business is growing and so many good things are happening. It just seems like, and you're a wife and a mom, and there's just so many things going on in your life that I was just like, gosh, why would she add more to her plate and go back and get a master's degree? And so I wanted to kind of kick things off and tee it up to you. First and foremost, are you surviving? Is everything okay? Like, how are you, do you get any sleep at night? Like, why make this decision to go back and try and get a master's degree?
You know, a lot went into it. This is kind of a lifelong dream for me. I will be the first to say that my belief with colleges is for some people and not for others. And you don't have to have a college degree to have a great career and make a lot of money. Obviously, like we know that being in restoration, there's a great career path here and in the trades. And, you know, you also find once you have your college degree, those grades didn't matter. Where you went didn't really matter. All of that depending on what you do. But as I was coming into the phase of being a business owner, I'm also aware, especially after listening to leaders over my career so far, of the blind spots that exist as a leader. And I have some big blind spots, and I know that, and I want to be able to. C&R has become a much bigger thing than I thought. People have probably heard me say it. I really thought that this was going to be my little hobby, that I was just going to do it by myself.
Yeah.
And this was just, no kidding. I never thought I would have staff. I just really thought that this was me. That obviously has not been the case, and I'm thrilled. But now we're this growing business, and I have some gaps in my knowledge, and I want to learn more and do better and be able to expand and grow. And on the same vein, this is actually closing a personal circle for me. So the school that I'm going back to is Michigan State. I'm doing their executive MBA program. So I do want to say that to people. There are options that I believe largely came out of, I think executive MBAs existed pre-COVID, but there are great educational opportunities that exist in different ways now in a post-COVID era, where you can be like, it's not fully remote and it's not all in person. I have this hybrid model where I get to go through the next almost 2 years. It starts this fall, and then I graduate in May of 2025, but with the same cohort of people. And my cohort will have people that are exceptional in different areas. So it's not going to be all marketers like me. It's going to be people in supply chain and accounting and management and operations and all those other things. And those are areas where I'm blind. And I've had a lot of people say that they believe that the relationships that I will make through all of this will be one of the biggest points of impact as I go through this. And having kind of this hybrid option of, it's one weekend in person, just a Friday evening and a Saturday until like 4 p.m. once a month that I'm in person, the rest is virtual. And so that gives such a great opportunity to do both and hopefully still manage my work life. I'm gonna let
Yeah.
you pop in here because I will just keep talking.
No. That's awesome. There's so many pieces there that I think are important for business owners to recognize. But I want to kind of lean in on, well, I want to lean in on a couple of things. You mentioned right at the beginning that as a leader, you have blind spots and there are things that you're trying to work on to be better about. And then obviously you mentioned like you're learning about things like supply chain, or you will probably down the road at some point, you're going to learn about all of these other pieces of business. I think, thankfully I'm surrounded by a lot of really awesome leaders that aren't this way, but I think there are probably quite a few leaders out in the world in our industry and in other industries as well that don't recognize they have blind spots and think because they own the business, they started the business, that they don't need to be better. They don't need to do anything better. It's their employees that need to be better. They got to hire different people, or they got to, you know what I mean? And there might be some truth to that, but obviously I think there's a piece of humility that probably you have that you're like, I'm not perfect. I got to be better. But was there anything else? Is that something you've always just had the ability to look inward and be like, I've got to try and better myself so that I can help other people? Or is that something you've developed as you've become a business owner? Like, how do you have that ability to look inward and be like, I have blind spots, and then couple that obviously with your desire for education, but I want to be a better leader, so I'm going to go do this. So is that something you've always kind of had, or something that you've developed maybe later in life? What is that piece of you that wants you to go back and learn more?
I innately know this is something I've grown into. So like my disc personality is a high D. I'm a high D. So I like running the ship, right? But I have also lived through some really bad bosses. I won't even use the word leaders. I have truly seen what bad leadership or management looks like, and I've lived through that and seen the damage that it has done. And so I am very determined to do the opposite for the people who work with me. I want them to enjoy coming to work and feel. So I recently went through some work with my executive coach to find my I went through a course called On Purpose Peace, and part of it was finding my 2-word purpose statement for life. And it's not just related to personal or family, it's all encompassing. And the 2 words that my coach and I came up with after a very long process were activating confidence. And when I look inside of me, I know my heart is in the best place when I'm activating confidence in other people. So that everything that I do as a leader and a business owner and then a wife and a mom, I'm trying to activate confidence in other people. And the more I think I know in that deep knowledge base that I have as a business owner, the better I'm going to hopefully be able to coach and guide and activate confidence in my team to send them off and elevate them into their roles so that they feel confident in doing what they need to do in a day-to-day, whether it's in work or at home or whatever that may be. So that's kind of the root of all that. I've also learned from leaders in this industry the importance of hiring people that are smarter than you. And I truly believe I've done that. I mean, Sarah, our brand director, her graphic design and visual skills are out of this world. She's so good. And then Megan, who's our director of operations, she is so good at all of the spreadsheets and organization and IT systems and HR and like all of the nitty gritty that, again, I am not good at. As a high D, I am not good at the little details and the follow up and all that. Like, I am not. And so I try to be really, really aware of the blind spots that I know that I have and make sure, because I know that that could be frustrating for my team. If I'm not aware of my blind spots as a leader, then those blind spots are going to become frustrations for my team because I'm hindering them from their success. So obviously MBA is a little bit more like concrete and objective versus subjective in the leadership kind of world. But I'm hoping that this is going to make me a much more well-rounded leader and business owner. And again, it really is, part of it is just a full circle dream of, I started at Michigan State as an international business major in 2004. and that didn't work out for me. And so I ended up, you probably saw, I think I shared this like on a Facebook post. And so I ended up having to leave after my freshman year. It had always been my dream to go to Michigan State. I really wanted to go into business. And really, honestly, I sat in my first economics class and was like, there's no way. If this is what business is, I can't do this. And so I picked journalism and went that route, which clearly was the route that I was supposed to go. Like things have gone pretty well. So journalism was a good route. But now I'm so thankful to have the opportunity to come back and bring the business side back in now that I've rounded out the journalism part. So it's kind of a first full circle thing of life.
No, that's great. And that's a great answer. I think, yeah, the blind spot thing for me is just really, really cool. I've tried to do a better job, especially over the last couple of years, just looking inward at myself. And I think that's a lesson for everyone just in general, that like, we are not perfect. We can't expect other people around us to be perfect. And so maybe instead of stressing about what other people are doing, like let's focus on what we can control. And what I can control is bettering myself and overcoming some of those blind spots. And, I don't own a business, but I would assume that some of those blind spots can probably even be magnified if you don't work on them in a business setting, right? Like, because there's much more on the line. Like you've got people's paychecks to worry about, and like details of like their lives, and you're trying to make money, but you also want the in your case, you want the content in the magazine to be good. So it's like this constant balance that you're trying to face. And if you're not trying to work on the blind spots and better yourself, it can get magnified in those cases, and that can be an issue that I'm sure can be tough to handle at times. I love that you mentioned your desire to go back to Michigan State, because I think it ties back into just your general desire for education and learning.
Yep.
Learn, and this is something you mentioned in the email when we were kind of first talking about this topic, but you mentioned this desire of like a lifelong learning, that like you want to be learning all the time. Again, similar question to what I asked before, but is that something that obviously it's lifelong? So you've probably from a young age were like, I want to learn as much as possible. How can I learn more? Is that something that came from maybe your parents or a sibling, or why this desire to learn? Did you have a great teacher? Most people that want to get back into education and have this desire to learn maybe had a great teacher at some point in their life. What kind of was it for you that built this desire in you?
Probably my parents. My parents are lifelong learners. My dad has an advanced degree. He has a master's in theology. I had to think about that for a second. I almost said an MBA, and I'm like, nope, that's not right. And my mom as well was a teacher for a while before I was born. And they both, my dad's office growing up was just filled with books. And both of my parents are always reading, always learning, just a wealth of knowledge. And so I think that that's where it came from, which I'm thankful for. I'm thankful for that ability. And I'm thankful that once you become an adult, you, for the most part, get to choose what you want to learn about, right? Like you need to learn about the blind spots to a certain degree, but if there's areas you're passionate about, like history or leadership or culture or whatever, you can dive into those without having a teacher be like, okay, today's math lesson is on geometry. Here we go. Right. That's one of the privileges that you have as an adult, to dive into the ongoing learning that you're interested in. It doesn't have to be pulling teeth. It doesn't have to be something that you're completely uninterested in, unless it's a blind spot and you have to dive into it, then maybe, but it still should be more enjoyable, hopefully, than it was in grade school.
No, I love that. I think, growing up, it's you're kind of spoon fed. This is what you need to learn. Yeah. And I think there are definite important things that you have to learn, right? Like you've got to learn some certain pieces of history and English and math, that's fine. But going back as an adult, it's got to be a little bit more empowering to be like, oh, this is something I actually care about. This is something I want to learn. And I love that. My mom, very, similarly, she doesn't have an advanced degree, but she's a teacher. And so like always kind of had this desire to learn. And I have like a niche that I really enjoy learning about, as everyone does. People probably have kind of their loves or their passions of things that they want to really learn about. But I've always had this desire to just like learn as much as possible. Even in like, when I started here at Spot On Solutions, like I had very, detailed conversations when I first started here with Katie and with some of, my managers and stuff like that. And I was like, hey, like, teach me, like, what do I got to learn? What are some things I need to know? And I've tried to learn a little bit more every single day. And I think that makes a difference in just me personally, whether or not I end up becoming a leader or a business owner someday. Like, it's going to make me a better person. If you really care about that, I think that's, is it the 1% better every day? Is that
Yes.
is Atomic Habits, right? Isn't that the book?
Yep. I think so. Yes.
Yeah, I think I can't remember exactly where that comes from, but like, I want to be a little bit better today than I was yesterday, and I want to be better tomorrow than I am today. And I don't think there's a problem with that. And how you do that is affected a lot by going out and learning as much as possible. Let's maybe kind of shift a little bit here. I want to dive in, I think, a little bit. Yeah. I want to talk a little bit about how maybe this relates to other business owners. We've talked about you and your goals and kind of what you want to accomplish. There's probably a lot of business owners out there that maybe feel like a master's degree might not be for them, right? It might be. And I think like the way you explained it is awesome, that there are a lot of flexible programs out there that are for everyone, which I love. But if a business owner, especially in our industries, decide that maybe a master's program isn't for them, what are some options that you think would be good places to maybe start to learn a little bit more about either their business, being a business owner, or elevating themselves and their team? What are some resources or some places that a business owner could go to just try and elevate themselves a little bit?
Okay, I have many answers here. One of the answers that I have is the Violand Executive Summit, which Katie and I were just at. And that is hands down one of my favorite events every year. And the classes and the education that you can get there, it's 2 days and full days in a class, and you get to pick between different topics. And after you go for 4 years and you do the right number of classes in each of like the designations, like accounting, leadership, operations, I can't remember what they are, but you actually get a certificate from Kent State, like a business leadership. I don't have it near me, but
that's awesome.
You actually graduate and have this cool certificate. And I brought my director of operations this year for the first time, and she sat through, she took a small business accounting class on the second day. And the amount that she learned and took away from that one class she's like, this is better than anything that I've learned in any class that I've ever been to, and more engaging than a regular college class. She was sitting in a room full of restorers and full of people that, granted, our business is different, but it's still in the same industry, and people that she was meeting and learning to trust, all of those things. And she took so much value out of that class that we're able to turn around and implement in Blueprint, which is like the parent company of CNR. It was remarkable. So an event like that, I highly recommend for anybody that's in any level of the business, because there's going to be classes there for whatever level somebody is in your company. Well, upper leadership, technicians, maybe not, but project managers, estimators, operations, you name it. There's accounting. There's going to be something there for people. Every industry trade show is a little bit different. So I would really take a look at the trade shows that come up throughout the year and look at the programming and figure out, okay, are there breakout sessions here or workshops, like half-day workshops, that are going to bring value, that are going to fill in a gap or a need that I know that the team has, or something that somebody on your team is passionate about learning about. And it's like, oh, they haven't been to a conference in a while. That could be a really great idea to send them. They would really appreciate that course. Maybe there's some IIC or CECs attached, and you can get those CECs out of the way. I also would say, for people who do want to do something that's more the level of what I'm doing, it's possible. This has taken a lot of preparation. I applied for this, last fall, I think. So I've known for a very long time. I knew I got my acceptance probably in November. I got accepted in November. So I've had 10 months almost of lead time before actually starting any classes to get the business set up to a point where I know that if I am a little off balance with
Yeah.
business and personal and school and all that, that the business isn't going to fall apart. We're going to be
Yep.
okay. But that again took a lot of some intentional steps and figuring out what the business needed to make sure that it's still going to run. You know, one of our issues that we're continuing to work through now is, as of right now, I'm the only person that does sales. So we do have somebody on the team that's working her way into that, which will help. So again, that's a blind spot that I know exists, but the company's not going to fall apart if I have a few weeks where I'm like crunched and working on a big project, right?
Yeah.
So if that's something that you want to do, look ahead, figure out what program you want to do. When does it start? What are the application time periods? And then just start thinking through. I mean, my family has been prepared for this now for months. And my mother-in-law, for example, who watches my kids, and, you know, it's going to work out. It's going to be okay. And education, no matter what, is what you make of it. So I also know that there might be some areas where like I'm not as engaged in the curriculum as other areas where I might be, you know. So, and that's my choice. I plan to be as engaged as possible through all of it, but I also know life happens and I'm realistic about what this is going to take while being a business owner and having small children. My kids are 9 and 4 years old for people who are listening and don't know my family. So, and my son plays travel hockey. That's really busy. My husband works a full-time job with a 45-minute commute either way. So we are just endlessly busy. But you make it work. Life is meant to be lived and enjoyed. And I believe in taking chances and chasing those dreams because you only get to do it once. And it's okay.
I love it. I love there's again, a couple of things that I think I really want to hit at, but you mentioned at the end there, like preparing your business to be in a place so that you can go back and get your degree. For business owners in general, even if they're not going back to get a master's degree, like that's a healthy thing to do, right? Like that's just a healthy thing to do in general. If you own a business and want it to grow and succeed and are trying to get it there, like preparing it in such a way that you can leave and have a little bit more flexibility is a huge win, even if you don't end up going back and getting educated, right? Like even if, even if all you did, even if a business owner, all they did was like, hey, I'm going to get my business prepared so that I can get ready to go get my master's degree. And it takes them 10 months or a year, like you're saying, even if by the end of that, they're like, oh, actually, I decided I don't want to go get my master's degree. Their business is still going to be in a better place for it because they've now taken some of that responsibility off their shoulders. They've allowed their business and their employees to go out and run the actual business so that they can focus on, you know, maybe some more big picture things like growth and, you know, stuff like sales and hiring. And they can kind of maybe step back a little bit and let the day-to-day operations be handled by somebody else. And I love that. I love that obviously it was a function of what you were planning to do. You were like, okay, I want to go back. I want to get my degree. So I've got to get the business in this place. But I would say your business is probably better for it, even if you don't end up going to get your degree, right? Like I think that's totally the truth. What you kind of mentioned at the beginning, which I also want to maybe kind of touch on a little bit. I don't know if you could, I mean, maybe you did, and so this you might have an answer to this question, but I would assume that your operations manager, your director of her title, she probably really loved that you were taking an investment in her, and were willing to help her get some elevated education. Have you talked to her since then about, or has she mentioned anything to you about how that helped her, personally, or obviously with her work? Has she said anything to you about how that has kind of helped her grow? Because I think that's a cool piece to all of this, that, educating yourself is important, but also educating your team. Has she mentioned anything about that or said anything to you?
She has a little bit. We have a team call with our whole team on Mondays. And yesterday on our team call, she talked about it and how it just gave her a renewed excitement and drive for all of this. And she has new things that she wants to put in place. And you could just tell that there was this renewed level of excitement and outlook and all that. And she actually owns her own small business where she does accounting for other small businesses in our area. And I know that it gave her valuable information to take into there too. And I'm not somebody that's threatened by my people having a side hustle, right? I
love
hope
that.
that that's kind of the era we live in, right? And
Yep.
I hope that I've created a good enough company and a good enough place to work that they are still going to make sure above and beyond, especially if you're full-time here and then, part-time elsewhere, that you're getting your job done here first, that that's your priority. And, I trust her to do that. And if I can play a role in helping nurture her business behind the scenes as well, I'm totally okay with that. I want people to thrive no matter what that takes. It's the same with Sarah, my brand director. She came with me to business planning last year in Tampa and got to meet Katie and Derek there and a bunch of other people. And, she's really gotten to know a lot of people in the industry just over the last couple of years. And, you were talking about these were good decisions regardless. They were. Knowing that my MBA was coming forced me in a really positive way to accelerate decisions that I think I would have sat on for a very long time. I didn't realize until after it happened that I had hired 4 people in a month. A few months ago, and I never would have thought that would happen. And it was full-time, one almost full-time, and then 2 freelancers. But these people continue to open the world up for me and for the people that invest in CNR, our advertisers and vendors and readers. I mean, they're everybody behind the scenes at CNR is really what's making it what it is. And I just get to kind of be here with my hands a little bit in things. But the more that I can get to that point of working on the business versus in the business, I think the better off long-term we're going to be, again, because that high D, some I personality, you don't want me in the nitty gritty. It's not going to go well for anybody. So
I love that.
For the big view and growth.
I love that. That's a great little nugget, Michelle. You want to get to a point where you are working on the business, not in the business. And that's I think the dream, and it should be the goal for any business owner, restoration, cleaning, or not, any industry. You should get your business to the point where you are working on the business, not in the business. And I love that. That's a great little phrase there. I think what you're saying about elevating your team and helping them, you want to be successful. I think and you hit on it a little bit. I think there are probably some business owners that are a little reluctant to do that, because I would anticipate there are probably some business owners that are like, oh, I'm going to, get my team all elevated and all trained up and hire it, get them more education. And then they're just going to leave me, or whatever, right? They're going to go off and do on their own. And was there any of that apprehension or fear for you? And if not, how would you tell another business owner to not have that apprehension or fear when it comes to like helping educate their team members as well?
Okay, so this is a little bit of a tough question, because I want to say first, restorers who are listening, I get that what you face with hiring is different than what I face with hiring, right?
Right.
It is. And the technicians, I cannot imagine. However, I do have 3 freelancers that work under Blueprint now, plus 2 full-time and 3 I don't know at this point, 3 part-time people. And it honestly goes back to culture and how I treat my people. I am not worried about people leaving. I'm constantly told, thankfully, by my team that I'm the best boss they've ever worked for, that they're never leaving, that they love working here, that they are so thankful. And so I hope that that's something that I can continue. But I also, I've talked to people about what it feels like when you have somebody leave your team. And I hope that if anybody on my team ever finds a better opportunity and they truly feel like that's the better opportunity for them, that they will take it. Like, I think that that's going to leave me a little heartbroken. I know that it's not going to be easy for me to go through those emotions, but I would never want to hold anybody back either. I also, going back to those bad boss examples, I have been through some nasty resignations. One where my boss literally threw my letter of resignation in my face, and it did not go well, and told lies to his wife and all these. It just was not a good situation. And so I don't want to ever do that to anybody. And this is a little bit of an interesting piece to CNR and keeping the team running is we're all scattered. You know, at least I think for the most part, SOS, you have your building in Blackfoot, which is amazing. You might have a few remote people, but my team, other than Megan and I, who are in Metro Detroit, we're all fully remote. And so it takes really, really conscious efforts on my part, on Megan's part, on whoever's part, to make sure that our team feels like we're part of a team and that we're working together and that I care and whatever. But there's little things with technology, right? Like you can send a thanks, that THNKS app, you can send a latte out to somebody or buy lunch for them one day or whatever. I do that whenever I can think about it. And we're working on doing quarterly, even like virtual happy hours or whatever that may be, something that's fun. We did a Christmas dinner for people who could come to town. Like we're trying.
Yeah.
So I just, as long as my team feels appreciated and knows I love them, if they choose to leave, that is their choice. And I would hopefully believe that they truly found something better. And I also just always want my team to tell me if my blind spots are showing. You know, like, is there something on my face? Please tell me if I'm sucking in an area. I really want to know. I want you to be honest, because I can't fix it if I don't know.
Yeah, 100%. I think that's a big piece there that business owners shouldn't be afraid of losing people, losing good, quality employees, if there's some kind of trust there, right? If they've developed a relationship and they have trust with their employees. Because I think if an employee has an issue or has a problem or is like concerned about, whatever it is, that employee, if they have trust, will come and talk to you about it. And maybe you can resolve the issue. You can resolve the problem. Oh, hey, you don't feel like you're being successful because of this, or you're struggling to work with another teammate because of this. Like, hey, let's solve this problem, instead of people just saying, oh, I quit, here's my 2 weeks, right? Like, I think that's always the fear in the back of the mind, especially, in this industry that we talk about a lot, restoration and cleaning. Holding on to good quality technicians is hard. And so people, business owners just don't want to invest in them because they're worried, because of past experience, that technician is going to be gone in 6 months or gone in a year. And I think the first step to that is building some trust, building a relationship, and then just having the desire, hey, I'm going to try and elevate you no matter what. And I'm going to love you and care for you no matter what. And if you decide to leave, we're going to leave on good terms, because we have this trust, and I've invested in you and you've invested in my business, and we'll part as friends, if nothing else. And I think that's a good all around attitude to have. Michelle, thank you. This has been really, really fun for me to kind of pick your brain a little bit about some of these education pieces. I think there's going to be a lot of value for our audience talking about this kind of stuff. There are so many, when I think about, and you've talked about this a little bit, but there are so many events out there for the cleaning and restoration industry where you can elevate yourself and your team. And there's so many out there that I think they can go and attend and learn about, that really you could kind of throw a dart at a wall and say, go attend this event, and it's going to help you. Right. And so I love the idea of just continuing to elevate yourself and your team, and find an event that's maybe near you. If I could speak to our audience, find an event that's near you that offers some things, maybe like some IICRC credits or some one-on-one business coaching, whatever it is. Find an event that's close to you that you feel like is going to be valuable for you and your team, and go attend, and have this desire, learn to build this desire of lifelong learning. And it's only going to make you a better person and your team better people in the long run, and your business more successful. I think at the end of the day, we all want to elevate our businesses and help them be more successful. And I think education is a great way to get it done. So any final thoughts you have for, both yourself and your journey in education, but for our audience that might be tuning in, and any other final thoughts you've got for them?
I don't know. Hayden, thank you for having me. This has been a lot of fun. I guess the one tidbit that I will leave everybody with is continue to remember that work-life balance is a myth, and that you're going to have moments where work is going to take higher priority than other things. And as long as you don't keep it that way for too long, and you remember to upswing your family or whatever your other priorities are, at some point, it's going to be okay. So don't, you find your equilibrium, find what keeps your soul, your heart happy, and what makes you feel on purpose. I am a leader who totally trusts my gut. And at this point, if something doesn't feel right, even if it's a customer or whatever, if something doesn't feel right, I know that that's not for me. And setting boundaries in a 24/7 world can be difficult, but you can do it. And it's going to actually only build more respect for you over the long term, in my opinion, than if you let people kind of walk all over you and say yes to all the things. Determine what you are here for, what your purpose is, what fulfills you, and chase those things, and don't let the noise creep through and take over what brings you joy.
Oh, it's great. You end it right there. Michelle, thank you again for coming on the show. We're going to have you on again in the future. We've got some cool podcast things that are in the pipeline right now, some joint podcasts that we're going to be doing in the future, but it's always a pleasure. Thanks again for coming on, and we'll talk to you again in the future.
Thanks, Hayden.
This has been Success Elevated, making you a little bit better one show at a time. Thanks for joining us. Please subscribe on YouTube or any other major podcast platform to listen to more episodes. We are proudly brought to you by Spot On Solutions. If you'd like to learn more about how we can help you grow your business, please check us out at spotonsolutions.com.